It began in Seattle. But when the tear gas clears, are the protesters against globalization doing more harm than good? Washington, D.C., 5 months after Seattle. The protesters are back on the streets for a meeting of the IMF and the World Bank. The police cordon off the blocks around the bank's headquarters. We stumbled across one skirmish as protesters tried to break through police lines. The demonstrators say they represent civil society and NGOs across the world, but the usually peaceful street theatre of this protest movement has received mixed reviews.
It is possible that the kids on the streets could end up doing more harm than good, but I have to be, and I am essentially an optimist. I think that putting the spotlight of public opinion and public concern on globalization, raising the stakes and the issues for people so that they actually see what the choices are, I think in a democracy is ultimately a good thing.
One of the reasons that we have formal democratic institutions is that we have to have rules to show that, that when a government takes action, it actually reflects the will of the people. If 10 NGOs show up and they demand a certain kind of action, well, maybe they represent the will of the people, maybe they don't.
A few blocks away in fashionable Georgetown, a peaceful street protest on sweatshop labor. For this message, a different tactic.
People deserve the amount of wages to live by. I mean, like, everyone needs enough to get by, and they aren't even getting that.
It's about a basic level of human compassion that's missing in our world today. I mean, although we care about the people we know, we have no concern for the repercussions of our actions that go outside of our daily lives.
What these demonstrators want is to remind us of the conditions in which they claim the clothes we buy are produced. Their best-known spokesperson, Canadian writer Naomi Klein.
What we're seeing is an ideological clash.
She researched sweatshops in the export zones of Asia and returned with a message that's hard to sum up in a single slogan.
For instance, in the Philippines, in the export processing zone that I visited, I felt a tremendous sense of responsibility from the workers, because they shared their stories with me. They wanted so badly for me to take their stories home and tell the people who bought the Sassoon jeans and the Levi's jean jackets and the Nike running shoes. They said to me over and over again, please tell people what it's like for us. And at the same time, their greatest fear was that I was going to go home and tell people to boycott these companies and that they were all going to lose their jobs. So there's this tremendous uncertainty and confusion about what to do.
Gap declined to be interviewed, but told us they are working against sweatshops and monitor the companies that manufacture their clothes to make sure workers are treated safely and fairly. And it's not only the big brands who say the protesters' message is mistaken.
In many of these export zones, it has been young women, usually between age of 17 and 25. And this has been true in the Philippines. It was true throughout East Asia, often true in China. And it's led to a remarkable social change of empowerment of young women. I think the mistake is to see that as exploitation without understanding what these younger girls' life chances would have been in the impoverished countryside.
But trying to escape from impoverished villages like Naik can be difficult. Naik is a quiet fishing village 3 hours along the coast from the Philippines' capital, Manila. A ride home is about the only luxury Lizelle can afford after an afternoon shift in a Korean-owned garment factory. She's not feeling empowered.
After graduation, it took some time before I got a job.